And good morning, my beautiful America. Welcome back to the All American Book Club. I am so glad to be here with you guys. I am Eden Gordon Hill, and you guys, we know we are so in awe of what our military families do. And as the whole month of May, you guys are well aware, we've been very focused on the month of the military family, month of the military spouse, and Memorial Day. So I have the honor to bring over the show uh, someone from the great state of Texas. She is a military brat. She also served in the United States Army in Iraq and Afghanistan. She also was a Blackhawk helicopter mechanic, went on to be crew chief. Please help me welcome to the show, Sarah Doran. Sarah, I am so glad to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I want to talk as we launch into summer. And you have written two amazing kids' books, focus on military families, military kids. But as we head into the summer, your two books, Sleeping Giants and The Peppered Sky, are ideal for the mom, dad, grandparents who have kids who are home for the summer, not going off to camp, or just entertaining them on road trips or entertaining them on planes. You have these beautiful books. I'm holding them up for those on the YouTube channel. Please tell us about your amazing books. So let's talk about Sleeping Giants first.
Okay. So Sleeping Giants is near and dear to my heart. I was, like you said, a helicopter mechanic and crew chief in the Army. And so this story was specifically inspired by my time in the service. It's about a little boy who gets to go to the hangar with his mechanic mom, who's a service member. And they are there to see something very special during their time there. But before they get to that point, he gets to spend a little bit of time exploring three of the Army helicopters, the Chinook, the Apache, and the Blackhawk. And he goes on these little imaginative adventures in his head. And then they're there to, like I said, see something very special and share a special moment together there on the flight line. And each of my stories, including Sleeping Giants, includes some educational resources at the end of the story to kind of help extend beyond the story for parents, teachers, librarians. Because the stories are definitely written to represent military families, but I really wanted to include something to help non-military families learn a little bit about service members in the armed forces, because it's kind of a mystery. It's not something a lot of people are familiar with, and I wanted to be able to teach and educate the American people.
Well, I love that you do this because this generation and the coming generations, we have seen such history being erased. And
Yeah.
so this next generation, do they understand what patriotism even means? Do they understand what it is that selfless service just the United States military? So you bring that to life in your two children's books with the activities at the end. I think that was one of my favorite parts. It was showing what is the American flag? What does it stand for? And
Right.
talking about some of the activities that these kids can do, whether it's during the school year or on summer break. I want to talk about why you chose Sleeping Giants. Like you talked about, you worked as a mechanic on the Blackhawk, but the illustrations just bring it to life. And I'm kind of curious, how did you end up working on the Blackhawk? Talk about your journey and your career. I mean, come on, that's so
Oh,
cool. That's so
so
neat.
I've always had a personality that needed to be challenged. And so I knew I had kind of zeroed in on two jobs. I took the ASVAB, excuse me, and I scored very well on my ASVAB. I've scored very well on my GT score. And so I was able to kind of pick whatever I wanted to do in the Army. And I had zeroed it down to PR or helicopters. And I felt like I could do PR very well, but that it wouldn't necessarily challenge me in the way that helicopters would, specifically because I had zero experience with anything mechanical. I had never even changed a car tire. And so I didn't know the difference between a wrench and a screwdriver, really. So I decided that sounded more interesting and more challenging to me. And so I decided that sounded like a great idea. So I chose helicopters, and I asked my dad one day. I said, "Who gets to sit in the side of the helicopter? Because that's the job that I want." And
Oh, wow.
well, that's a crew chief. You don't necessarily get to choose that. They choose you, but you start off as a mechanic for that helicopter. And I said, okay, that's what I'll do. Um,
So
so
then you ended up being the crew chief.
I did, yes. I was selected to go on and go through air training and get to be a crew chief for a couple of years, and that was really special.
What do you think? What would you tell the young, those who are in college or those even in high school who are looking at ROTC or considering some kind of service? And a lot of them go in just to pay their education, but and then they wake up, they're like, oh my gosh, I just made it through all of this. And then now I could get called up. But talk about what it was like for you, that selfless service.
I have two boys of my own, and this is something that I share at school visits as well, but with my own children. When it comes to considering serving your country, it is not something I think anybody will ever regret doing. Not everybody is able to serve their country, but I don't think it is anything that you will ever regret doing. Um, when you are able to put your country above your own needs, and yes, you can have selfish reasons for choosing to serve as well, whether that's education or even just income, having a
Yeah,
steady job,
yeah,
the health benefits or whatever. But um knowing that you're doing something outside of yourself, something
yeah.
bigger than you, is something that will stay with you forever. I've been out of the Army for 12 years now, and it's still something that I'm immensely proud of. And it's still something that I talk about all the time. And so if anyone is out there listening to this or considering the service in any form or fashion, definitely give it some serious thought, because it is worth every second that you consider it.
So I want to talk about your family history because I have noticed in the years of just being around those who have served, our family members who have served, there is this family piece to it as well. And your
Mhm.
father was a paratrooper, and you talk about that in The Peppered Sky. And again, I love the illustrations. They're beautiful in both books. But I would love for you to share your personal journey about growing up in the Army, seeing your father serve, and then how that really probably inspired you as well.
Yeah, so I spent most of my childhood as a military child. We moved from base to base. My father was an Army chaplain, so he was a preacher for soldiers, but also part of his job was as an Army paratrooper. So he'd jump out of airplanes for his job, and often they liked to push him out of the airplane first, saying, it was good luck or something to have the chaplain go first. Anyway, it was definitely a unique kind of upbringing, but one that I'm immensely proud of as well. I think it teaches children a lot of resiliency, and teaches them that they are capable of hard things, even when those hard things are not necessarily their choices.
Yeah.
Um, so the Peppered Sky was inspired by my upbringing and watching my dad as a paratrooper, and it's a very special story, and one that I think a lot of readers are enjoying. Um, you asked, let's see.
Basically like growing up in a military family, sometimes that deters children and then other times it inspires. It looks like it really inspired you. But was there one certain time period that you said, it's like you said your dad, well, what does that guy do up there? That's what I want to be. Was it at a certain point in your childhood, or did it take longer for you to kind of say, this is what I want to do?
No, not necessarily. I fully embraced being a military child. It wasn't necessarily like that for all of my siblings. I have a sister and two brothers, and we all kind of reacted differently to our different challenges as a military kid. However, as I grew up, I realized that there was this huge underrepresentation of military kids in literature, and it's something that I recognized as a young adult after my time in the service, when I was going through school to be a teacher. But I kind of tucked it away. It was one of those little seeds that was planted, and then later on, the way that things work,
Yeah,
little seeds here and there.
yeah,
I eventually realized, oh my gosh, I have all of this military experience with my military upbringing and then being a veteran and my going to school to be a teacher. And I'm like, I can write these books. This is what I need to do to fill this void.
let me say this. I have worked with so many different authors from the show over the past couple years, and then also authors I've represented. And it's hard to find good military children books.
It is, yes.
And and I'm going to tell the audience, I met you because the algorithm on Instagram, and you
Yeah.
just popped up in my feed, and it was just this, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I know a handful of a couple other authors that I've worked with over the years that have focused on military kids, and they are phenomenal in their own right. And I'm going to connect you guys because that's what I do. I'm the connector. But there's not many of you, and we need to increase that. I want to ask you something about being the homeschool mama that you are.
Okay.
Homeschooling wasn't cool for a really long time, and then
No, it wasn't.
it became very cool. And I would love to hear what it's been like for you. Okay, I'm going to go through your powerful resume. One, you're a military brat. Two, you are a veteran, but you were a military spouse and active duty. And now you are a homeschool mama. I mean, you have a powerful resume right there. You have done, it's full of selfless service to this nation on so many different levels. So I want to hear about this new role for you as homeschool mama. What really inspired you? Was it because of the political scene, or was it just because it was a calling? Because I know you were a woman of faith.
Uh, so I will be very honest with you. I grew up going to public school. My husband was public schooled. We had every intention of public schooling our own children. In fact, we started with public school with our oldest, and very quickly, with the way that our education system was going, um, and the calling that we felt like the Lord had on our hearts for educating our children and what that means as followers of God, we really felt like it was something that we needed to start considering, that homeschool was something that we needed to start considering as a family.
Yeah.
Um, I had this background of education already, and it felt very wasted because I had switched from education to business toward the end of my student teaching and all of this. And but like I said, we had spoken earlier about how God kind of orchestrates things and says, "Oh, but remember, I was doing that thing, and now I'm going to
Yeah.
bring it back, and
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yep.
this work in you." And so it was really amazing because He gave me that confidence with all of that education that He had already given me, to be able to go ahead and just start educating. And so it's been incredibly beautiful and fruitful to watch and see how He's brought us through all of that journey and into this place of homeschool. And so this is our 5th year of homeschool now, and it's been amazing. It's not perfect by any means,
No.
but I don't know a single homeschool that is, or public or private or any other school for that matter that is.
Yeah.
But it has been very rewarding, and it has been very eye-opening and fruitful, like I said, to be able to have those conversations in a very safe environment with our own boys, and with other homeschool families in our community about things that are going on in our world,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, that we wouldn't necessarily be able to have in a public school environment.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I grew up in public school as well, and
Mhm.
also went to Christian school starting off. But I remember just, the impact, the time periods have changed.
Yeah.
And being able to talk to your child and have those discussions around the kitchen table. Those
Hmm.
discussions, I always say on this show, are more powerful than any presidential speech, any
Hmm.
speech, any filibuster, any
Yeah.
bill, because it's family that's founded on that anchor of faith.
Right.
And you guys make the calls on what you want to share with your kids and when the time is appropriate, not having a different, whatever school say one thing or the other. And
Right.
I think it's just a very bold and powerful move that you guys have been doing. And I just want to applaud you for that. I know so many mama bears around the nation who have just risen up because and wanting to stand up for our families,
Yeah.
for our faith, stand up for our country. And sister, you are doing that. So well done. Well
Thank
done.
you. Well, and I'm amazed at all of the mamas out there who are taking a stand, because it is very isolating. It can feel very isolating,
Yeah.
but for anyone out there who's listening to this, you are not alone. And there are other mamas out there just like you who are doing this thing too.
Well, let's send a message out to mamas. Let's send a message out to families for the summer. Your books are available. Where can they buy them? Where can they go hang out with you? Obviously, Instagram, you're there. And you are so quick to respond. But what are the best ways for people to get involved with you, come alongside of you, find out your resources? And I know you have many more books coming your way. So let's talk about that.
So you can find my books on pretty much any major retailer. You can find them on Barnes and Noble, Walmart, and Amazon. One of the best ways you can buy my books is actually through a platform that's fairly new. It's called Spousely. And this is kind of like Etsy, but all of the vendors on there are actually specifically military or first responder sellers.
Oh,
And so it's a very, very cool, direct way to support military and first responder families. And so they're very eclectic, a unique type of products, and there's all varieties. So you can find that link directly on my Instagram page, and that's a great way of supporting me directly, and I can sign your book that way.
no, I love that. Who came up with the spousely idea?
So
Do you need?
she's actually a military spouse, and it's primarily military spouses, but they did open it up to first responders as well.
Oh, absolutely. That's perfect. I absolutely, that's a great way to kick off summer here at the All American Book Club. Have people go buy your books, have
Yeah.
them go check out Spousely, because
Yes.
it sounds like it's not just books, it's a little bit of
Oh
everything.
no, I mean, you can find, like I said, it's a lot like Etsy, but just created by
The
uh
military
military
family.
spouse
That's
community.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, I want to end on a note. I always ask people this and never want to put them on the spot, but I would just love to hear what is either a word of scripture, a word of inspiration that continues to inspire you that you would love to share with our military community here.
Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is admirable, whatever is excellent or praiseworthy, think of those things. We are living in a generation and a world and a culture that is so easy to be distracted and to get bogged down and to be distracted by the negativity and the evil and just the darkness. And so keep your eyes on the Lord and keep your focus on what is good and what is true and what is noble and what is right.
Oh, well put. I can tell you're a chap daughter. That's no, I thank you for saying that. That's so important. And I love when people bring up a scripture because it's what guides us. It's what we need more than ever before.
Absolutely.
For us to be faith in the public square. On a final note, with just seconds left, I have to say, on a lighter note, you're gonna have to teach me how to, oh, I don't know, fix a tire, any kind of mechanics. My husband has just given up. So, on that note, I would love to meet you in person and then you can teach me a thing or two.
That's like so much fun. I would like that a lot.
Well, good. For all of those who are tuning in, thank you so much for joining us here at the All American Book Club. Stay tuned for our next segment. We'll be right back, and make sure you go pick up Sarah Doran's amazing books, The Peppered Sky and sleeping giants. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much.